Hey, this is Chelsea Ward, and today I want to talk to you about your leaky gut and how to repair. Our intestinal lining is made up of a layer of cells that helps us to absorb nutrients, but it also acts as a barrier to things that have the potential of being harmful to our digestive system. Things like toxins, pathogens, and other microorganisms. And when the gut is exposed to certain environmental triggers, it can lead to a condition known as intestinal permeability or leaky gut syndrome. And this is something that I suffered from for many years. I had severe gastrointestinal symptoms from the time I was a child all the way through adulthood. Things like diarrhea, constipation, stomach aches, constant nausea, gas, bloating, pain, irritable bowel, you name it, and I had it. I was overweight, underweight. I had a gallbladder that was barely functioning. I would go weeks without having a bowel movement, and then all of a sudden the bottom would fall out. Now, I hope you don't know what I mean by that, but if you do, you know that it is no fun. I want to give you an overview of what leaky gut syndrome looks like, the signs, the symptoms, the causes, the risk factors, associated health conditions, as well as the 4 R's, which is the therapeutic approach to healing your leaky gut. So, let's get started. So where do we start? Well, I like to start by telling you what leaky gut is. Now, I know if you've been following me for any amount of time, you probably know that I've talked about this on several occasions, but the intestinal barrier is made up of a single layer of epithelial cells which are separated by tight junctions that act as a physical barrier. And if the gut is healthy, then those tight junctions in the intestinal lining are selectively permeable, which means that they'll do their job of absorbing certain things like nutrients, water, electrolytes, but these tight junctions also provide a protective barrier, and they prevent the absorption of harmful molecules, things like toxins, pathogens, and other antigens, the things we mentioned earlier. But how does this leaky gut even happen? Well, there's a protein and it's called zonulin, and it's secreted by the intestinal tract that it's associated with leaky gut syndrome. And environmental factors may stimulate the release of zonulin. And these things have been shown to actually downregulate these tight junctions. So when the gut becomes imbalanced in its microbes, this is known as dysbiosis, and that plays a role in the development of leaky gut. It can actually be reversed when we remove those environmental triggers and we start to clean up the gut. So what are the causes and the risk factors? Well, things like antibiotic use, environmental toxins, nutrient deficiencies, infections, poor gut health, gluten consumption, certain medications like NSAIDs and immunosuppressants, excessive alcohol consumption, poor diet, and even chronic or excessive stress. The latest research tells us that increased permeability may be associated with a number of health conditions, things like irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, celiac, and other chronic inflammatory conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, obesity, and even type 1 diabetes. So what can you do about it? Well, this is where the 4 R's come in. One is remove the pathogens and the inflammatory triggers. And this can be done by elimination diets through removing the inflammatory foods like gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, alcohol, peanuts. And you can also do food sensitivity tests to determine what the causes of inflammation is in each individual. And stool testing can be helpful for identifying pathogens. And also look at things like those zonulin markers we were talking about. 2 is replace essential nutrients that are supportive for a healthy microbiome, like fiber, prebiotics, anti-inflammatory foods. 3, you want to re-inoculate with those fermented foods and the probiotics. And number 4 is you want to repair with certain nutrients that are healing for the gut. Things like immunoglobulins, L-glutamine, zinc, and even Ganoderma. Those are things that repair. There is a systematic approach that promotes the healing of the gut and intestinal permeability when that creeps in. And a protocol can be done in as little as 60 to 90 days when the appropriate steps are taken to correct it. So I want to encourage you to work with your functional wellness practitioner who can recommend specific testing and provide you with a personalized treatment plan. If you have specific questions about whether or not you should investigate your gut further, I'd be happy to speak to you. My services as well as my contact information is available on my website at chelseaward.com. This is Chelsea Ward, knowing that we can all be happy, healthy, and whole.